Where did you go for your holidays? Well, of all the gin joints in all the world, I had to walk into this one. Gray's, Essex. And yeah, time for a little bit of shopping if you can find somewhere to park. It was easier parking in Chatterdern. I did find somewhere because I saw someone walking back to their car with their shopping. This part of Gray's is sometimes called Little Thurrock, but just across the road is often called Sockets Heath. Well, there we are. That's where holidays start. Well, it's not quite 5 to 4, English time of course, and you know, it's been blowing half a gale all day and the clouds are scudding away whichever way, eastwards I suppose, and I'm about to plunge into Gray's Market, and also I'm about to run out of battery on the camera. Oh well, another day maybe. Well, good morning to you, good morning. It is December the 24th, 2018, Christmas Eve. And I haven't mixed any concrete this morning. I haven't cut any firewood. In fact, I'm feeling pretty lazy. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to have to let my belt out a couple of notches. So I thought I would just take a walk. See if we can see some lovely things here in Gray's in Essex. You know, in Essex-le-Ferron, I get up in the morning and I sort of do things. Well, of course, I'm a bit limited with things to do while I'm staying with friends. But I need the exercise, so we'll have a brisk walk down into the town centre and just see what's what. That's quite a nice piece of ironwork for a gate. Now, Essex-le-Ferron is blessed with a wonderful, wonderful chateau, and of course such things exist in other countries too. But it's sort of hidden behind the trees. Yes, when I get indoors, I'll have to look up the history of this building. Gray's Hall. Yeah, I wonder what that was all about once. And I guess in a couple of 100 years' time that will be seen as classic architecture. Looks a little bit like the sort of thing you might build with Lego, doesn't it? All square and boxy. Council offices. In front is the Thameside Theatre. One of those peculiar things that councils sort of built, and they never built them quite big enough to make a profit as a theatre. But what have they got on at the moment? Aladdin. Good old Christmas time, winter time pantomime. That's a somewhat older sort of corporate office building in the what we might think of as neo-Georgian sort of style. This sort of design, this type of building was very, very common in the 1920s and 30s, with its sort of mock Greek architecture. But of course now it's splattered over with horrible plasticky sort of fronts. But Grays, as a town, Grays is actually very, very old. And you can look at some of the buildings and you think, well, when that was all just brick and hadn't been painted, there's quite a few interesting features in the architecture. You know, moulded brickwork, round top sash windows. A bit of thought went into that 100 and so years ago. And there stands the old courthouse. Used to be the magistrates' court with the old police station. The old police station, not the current old police station. But a number of years ago they decided the building was too expensive to keep it open as a court building. Look at that, van stops right in, never mind, we can move. Oh, yeah, he reverses in front of me. Never mind. Yes, they decided it was too expensive to keep it open as a court building. So the building has been sold and converted into office spaces for, and I can't think of the trendy phrase for it, starter businesses, something like that. But that place saw a lot of really interesting stories from Grays and the surrounding towns of malfeasance by various ne'er-do-wells. Yeah, the War Memorial and Grays High Street. When I was a child, of course, this wasn't a pedestrian precinct. This had cars driving up and down it. It's still got cars driving up and down it, but it's now pedestrianised. With some of the finest restaurants you'll ever find in the world. Yeah. But again, if you look above the shops, some of these buildings are actually very, very old. They're quite historic. One that I quite like to show people. A lot of people use the phrase the full Monty without really stopping to think about where that phrase comes from. And it comes from Montague Burton, who would sell a complete three-piece suit, you know, trousers, jacket and waistcoat for, and someone will correct me, 30 shillings, 50 shillings. But that's sort of corporate pride, isn't it? His shops in the stonework had his name. But you'll be lucky to find a Burton's on the high street anymore. Now it's a charity shop. Next door to a shop where cheques will be cashed. And they tell us that money matters. Pawnbrokers, there's a thing. There we are, a Christmas message from Grays. Wishing all of you a very Merry Christmas. And around Azay-le-Ferron, of course, there are woodlands in which you can find wild boar and deer. Here too in Grays there are woodlands where you can find wild shopping trolleys.